Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM23 Lions. It's episode 125. Now that the Tour de France is behind us, there's hardly a race left to do in the year, but there is still a Vuelta. We are going to go for GC on it, but not quite as all in as we did for the Tour de France. We will take some stages with La Vuelta and run the quick sim. Today, well, this is the San Sebastian race. We've got two climbs on our way towards a finishing punchy climb. This is a very inferior team. Our best rider has a -5 race day condition and therefore is ruled out entirely. In fact, he's a domestique instead. And how far back are we? Pretty far. Let's turn that up to an 85. Let's turn that up to an 85. Just about hanging in there. Peloton's still entirely together. And we'll get a decent amount of recovery here on the descent. One more bigger, tougher climb to go, and we're definitely going to have to work a little harder on the next one to hold position and not drift as much. But everybody is getting a good recovery in and still making forward progress to get back towards their position with a short valley and another climb to come. It's going to be important that we get back up there. Ari targeted this race as a minor rider. It made sense to diversify some of the objectives, and so he's got the +5. He's got the fitness peak for this one. It gives him a real boost. It actually turns him into a leader for this race as a result. Bidding a Messiah's +3, not quite enough to become a leader, but as we're about to hit the climb, you can see Carlos, Matoni, Mansour, the domestiques are just about the only ones that did not get a solid amount of recovery, but let's go ahead and push about an 87 to hold position here. We could tell Matoni is not going to last, so we'll put him up, and we'll put him up on their gels. And you're definitely seeing a few riders ride hard to the front, but they're having to go really deep to do that. Couple guys going clear. With my inferior team, there's absolutely no reason for us to be on the offensive at this point, 40k away. There goes Matoni. First guy going backwards. Set him to auto. Peloton is shrinking, and rapidly. We're still decently towards the front. As we approach the top, things flatten out a little bit now. Mansour is going out slowly but surely, and 10 riders did get off the front, but only marginally, at 50 seconds ahead. I'm confident that these 5 have plenty to give, and it's a shorter distance, and it's only 38 seconds down to those breakaway 10. The final breakaway 4 are just a further minute up the road, and they're going to be a lot weaker than the 10 that we're chasing and already making contact with, so that's good. They wasted a lot of energy to no gain. 18k. We will set up a train and go for it. I mean, we're not just in this for points. It would be nice to get a result. 5 guys at the front are just seconds away now. And at 11, I think it's time. We've got a little descent here before you go into that final climb. Carlos is here, but we'll put him at the back of the group. Is Bari our guy? 79 and +5. That seems to be the best we're going to be able to muster. Benuna is going to be the lead out guy. How's Claude looking? He is punchy, but he's got a -2. So I think we're going to use him for kind of a lead out role on the climb itself. Mansour is, too far back. Back to auto for him. Clote, get forward, bring the team in. Still 110 in play, but the field is pretty stretched, and with only already inside 10k, at least 60 of those riders are too far back, too far out of position. Clote starting to make his way through. Beni Messias, Gel. Benuna is there. Is Bari there? Yes. Cloak gets us over the first climb. I'm going to wait a second. There you go. Now Benia Messias can go. Get over that steeper section, and now we can make a proper acceleration with 7K to go. Cloak can follow. Careless is done. 3 riders just escaped. They are Lawrence, Gregoire, and Quinn. Cloak struggling to hang on. Benia Messias. We've got 6K to go, by the way. And we are definitely not done climbing yet, so Benia Messias go on a little bit longer now. Arts Ayuso. There's the top. Not quite in a strong enough position to be able to do anything here. What we have is guys that need to be put on auto. And we've got 2 guys in contention with 5K to go, and there's just 18 in the peloton. Benia Messias is still one of them. Was one of them. Now there's 17. Benuna. Normally a better sprinter, but this is definitely Bari's day. Benuna setting up the lead out, and Bari, we're inside that final kilometer. Can he overtake? It looks like he's headed for second. No, he's fading in the final 40 meters. Gregoire takes the win ahead of Ayuso and Lawrence. Bari gets 5th. Good points. And, oh, come on. Come on, Benuna. Drops all the way to 15th. Ugh. Both of them a disappointing drop at the very end. I mean, obviously Benuna did a lead out and was done in fading, but I thought for sure he still had a top 10. He ended up all the way down at 15th. I thought for sure Bari had a podium. He ends up down at 5th. Still a very good result. Just a disappointing fade in the final minutes on that one. With a Polish and Italian offer, MTN is the natural one to stay with, especially when we have not reached our maximum yet. So we stay with them another season. With 11 expiring contracts, what remains is a much smaller team than what we've had in past seasons. And so we're using less than half of what we have to spend for the coming year. 177,000 is what we have to spend for the coming year. There's plenty of teams out there that exceed that with just 2 riders. But we're going to have to use that as our entire budget. Still definitely an improvement from where we were. And the remaining contracts that we have, of course, led by Ashimwe and Arab, and then a dip down to Kareem and Hanouk, we're looking at 85,000, leaving 88,000 to spend. But we have expiring contracts with Samuels, Teasir, De Villiers, all making decent money. And then, of course, 11 riders in all on expiring contracts. So the dossier cost is going to be an important factor. And keeping things under that 88 million. Arab, obviously, not Arab, Samuels isn't going to be cheap. But if we can keep him anywhere in the ballpark of the 3 salaries that we have here, then we're looking really good because, well, for one, it's only going to be a slight increase. We're talking about 5K extra from what he was already making, and we definitely have a lot more coming back than that. But of the 11 expiring contracts, 3 of them are already riders that we have determined will be out, and that's because all 3 of them have been a bust. So you know the quality of a rider when you sign them, but every year, every new year, a number of riders in the pool see a readjustment. And we have seen many times in past years, I have seen many times in past years, riders that get better on that January 1st. This series, we have not had one. We have had a wide number of riders, probably 5 now, that have seen a drastic downturn in their quality on that January 1st reassessment. This year, we have 3 expiring contracts of that exact scenario. 3 riders that got significantly worse, that got nerfed. And so farewell to Benia Messias, Mansour, and Bari. Guys that just had a semi-decent race a moment ago. Downside, though, is the 3 of them are, well, making virtually minimum. So it's not like we're freeing up a bunch of money to go out and find replacements. But we're definitely going to look for some replacements. And there is some quality this year that I found in our search. After that, I would love to re-sign all 8 riders beyond those 3 that are expiring. However, we've already had to make the difficult decision, I mentioned it in a previous episode, that we are going to be letting Roteasir go for a couple of reasons. One, he's already getting paid a lot more than others and doesn't actually offer us any significant quality. He's a 79 time trial and is fantastic in that regard. He's great for a team time trial. Love having him around. But he's a terrible climber. He's good on flat, so he's okay for a lead out train. He's got good stamina. There's qualities there that I like, and I want to retain him. But he is a time trialist and a sprint train man only. Nothing more. Unfortunately, he's expensive for what he offers, but also the dossiers. He required a lot of dossier points. We have 11 expiring contracts. We have a number of new targets that are out there that I'd love to get our hands on, and they cost dossier points as well. And in order to retain somebody like Samuels is also an expensive venture. So I unfortunately have had to let Roteasir be a guy that we will not re-sign. I never opened the dossier on him because of the expense and because it was at 0%. And just because of his salary. I wish him luck. I hope he can go off and win some big time trial stage, but he's almost maxed out on that time trial, so I don't see him getting much better. But maybe the simulation side one day will do him wonders, or the boost of being AI on an opposing team where we're riding for something and getting that natural boost to an 83. Maybe he gets one more point to an 84 and finds a race that Evenepoel's not there, or down on his luck, or Van Aert's not, like the right combination of riders not present, and he can get a win. I doubt it, but maybe. But that means we've got 7 riders to try to re-sign, but there's also some replacements out there that we need to get, and I'm not sure where to begin. But let's get some signings done. Let's start with some of the cheap ones, because we need numbers. Good news is all but our literal final rider that we added in mid-July, all of them have a 100%. So we're fantastic on that part. We do have Roteasir here, but that's not our Roteasir. That is a different Roteasir. Cousin, younger brother, narratively speaking. Sure, why not? Well, let's start with the biggest signing. 5 stars, big-time prospect, and is getting there. He's getting there. Just 20 years of age, but we're starting to break into those 70s. If we do another 1-year rolling contract again, I have a feeling that he might start to go up in cost. We're also close enough to the end of this series that I no longer need to worry about 1-year contracts. We're going to just go ahead and offer those 3-year contracts. We are not going to get more than 3 years through the remainder of this series. So first up is Hampton. Luxury teammate sounds good to me. Will he take it? He does. That's 1 signed. Initial index has us 22nd, by the way. On paper, he doesn't look like a whole lot, but this is a 5-star prospect. Gabriel Clausen, who will be a decent climber, but a strong puncher eventually. 5-star capability there. This is one of our outside ones. He's 21 already. I've been sitting on this one for a couple of years and finally decided that, well, hey, he's gotten good enough to contribute something. He has high acceleration, okay flat. He can offer the team a little something. We're going to go ahead and sign on Clausen. Easy signing, again for minimum. He may not be a 5-star prospect in overall evaluation, but at 5.5 stars as a sprinter, just 18 and already a 73-70 in the sprint category. Obviously, filling out around that is going to be difficult, and he's not going to be great. But if we can get somebody who's going to get an 80 sprint eventually, and especially if he can level up quickly, Grayson Schultz is a huge get for us. Next target, I'm going to try to re-sign Mohira. Now 23, 4 of 4.5, 4 of 5 as a climber, 4 of 5 as a puncher. Definitely still has room to grow, but is starting to get pretty good. and hopefully is still going to be a near minimum contract. If it goes up by 1,500, if it's 4K, I think it's still good value. Much more than that, I'm going to start to wonder or maybe sit on this one. He went up in points cost quite a bit, but it looks like we are going to be able to get him for a minimum contract still potentially, and we do. That's good. I'm happy with him at minimum. With that, we have 4 signings complete. 2 of those returning riders, 2 new riders. So we're still needing at least 2 additional new riders, and of course as many as possible of the 8 coming back that we can sign. Careless is one of the weaker ones, so I'm kind of holding off on that. He might still be a last minute decision compared to others and their quality. Is he good enough to retain versus them? But as a core of our sprint crew, even though he's not very good, we want to hang on to Matthew de Villiers, even if he is transitioning from our sprint guy who has 1 career victory. If he's transitioning to a lead-out rider, he was on 2,800 last time. Let's see what we can get him signed for this time. 3,600. I don't mind that. I really don't mind that. Will he sign for that? He does. At this point, we're already down to just 3 major re-signings left, and we would have everything taken care of. If we can keep the cost down on the next 2, pretty much no matter what, Samuels would be an easy signing, because Samuels, his popularity will have dropped quite a bit over the last year. Good timing for us to then go and re-sign him. He's still somebody I want. He had an awful Tour de France, so if we're lucky, he's going to be around the same cost as he was. If we can get Matoni and de Villiers at reasonable costs as well, we're very much in play. We still have 74,000 to spend, and we could commit a lot of that, certainly not all of it, but a lot of that to just 3 riders. You see just how good Matoni already is, for one thing, with good mountain and time trial ratings, but he still has a lot of potential. I know he's going to cost more than minimum. That's obvious, but what is it? It's a very reasonable sum. We'll put him as an important rider and see what that does. I'm thinking not to mess with this, but we'll mess with it a little. There you go. He signs anyway. 6'3" for Matoni. That is a fantastic salary for a rider of his quality. Josh de Villiers got all of his early focus in other areas. Now it's time to build out his mountain rating, which is definitely lagging behind. That would make him a very solid rider if he can start pulling that one out. So make sure, yes, he is training as a climber. He was making 7'3" before, but he still only has 1 career victory, and I think he already had that before his last contract, potentially. So he's not going to be popular. He's not much in terms of quality. If we can get him for similar to what he's making now, that's great. He is looking for a bit of a price jump. Just a bit. Let's see if we can get him for a little less. 11? Not quite. He really does not like that salary. We get 4 chances here. Looks like 13K will do it, and does. 13K for Josh de Villiers. We've let top punchers go like 2 years in a row. I don't think we want to be letting him go. Moment of truth, the big re-signing. We only have 1 other 5-star rider. Samuels may not be the guy, but he's got 15 career victories, and a lot of those did happen over the phase of this contract. Yes, this year has been poor for him. Yes, it's lowering his popularity, so therefore it will lower his asking price, but he's still got 15 career victories. He's still going to be semi-popular, but he's also about as good as he's ever going to be. He's in his prime at 25. He's not going to get much better than this. I'm optimistic that we can get him signed for 25 or less. I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. However, we still have 55 to spend. We can afford to spend more than 25. We certainly can't afford to spend 50-55 though. And it's possible that he could be asking for that kind of salary. It's not uncommon. But he's got 100% interest. Moment of truth, folks. 19.6 on the upfront offer. That's what we're talking about. We'll go with an absolute leader. And he signs for 18.6. Almost exactly what he was making. Oh, what a deal. What a deal. That makes 8 signings complete, and we still have 36,000 left. We don't necessarily need to spend every penny of it. There are future seasons, but that does bump our index to 19th, getting back our top-rated guys. So with day 1 of signings in the book now, and 8 back, so right now we're just missing 3. So we're looking at a pretty small window here with 2 new prospects and 6 returning so far. Like I said, there was the potential for 8 that I wanted to retain, but we were never going to get Roteus here, so that meant 7. Careless is the last guy who's still in play, and then other possible signings out there. So we'll definitely be comparing those, but that now gives us Sammy Arab, Mason Samuels, and Josh DeVilliers. So 2 guys on expiring contracts coming back, and I mean that's top stuff there. Ashimwe was 22. Ashimwe is our highest paid rider. Shocking, right? Now obviously 19th is not going to get us anywhere useful, and we've had no improvement, none, over the last year at the top of our list. This all happened late last season. We've had movement in this zone, but nothing at the top. Could be a little problematic when it comes to retaining a Continental Pro spot, but we might have enough about us to stay put, hopefully. In scouting, my final evaluation is not through. Just a few days ago we got the latest update, and it's actually disappointing for me because we did have a preliminary 5-star potential for Kidney-Bisrat. Sure, something like that, right? The 18-year-old is a puncher and climber. That would have been a good, strong combination. You could see kind of how he's shaped now if you were to expand on that. This might be a quality rider. Might not be. Further scouting may be required. I think we're going to have some spare cash. So in all likelihood, I'm going to go ahead and sign the 3 so that we have 11 out, 11 in. Keeping an eye on this guy. And if it turns out to be good enough, we'll go ahead and sign him as well. But my choice for the 3 more comes down to just 4 riders. And the first of which is Roteus here. Gasimba Roteus here. 22 years of age. A classics rider. 75 cobble rated already, 74 downhill. He is missing pieces, but he's got a lot of high 60s, which if we were Continental Pro would be acceptable, as in if we were racing Continental Pro, but we race that World Tour calendar, it's not acceptable. But if he can get a little development, especially in the like Barradour kind of category, sprint kind of category, punchiness, we're asking a lot of him right now, aren't we? But we'll take him. Next up is Rusam Masawa, 21. Sprinter, but a little more well-rounded than a lot of the others we've had come through. Strong, capable sprinter, already decent with a 73, but also can do a time trial, little bit Barradour, so he could also help and support others, or at least not die on his way to the finish line before ever trying to attempt a sprint. That's my problem. Before you can finish, first you got to reach the finish. He's not happy about teammate, but luxury teammate doesn't hurt me at all, and looks like another minimum signing, and it is. So here's Hyatt DeWitt, and he's the next best prospect, and I think he's got a ceiling ever so slightly above Jacques Careless. And in many ways, it looks like he probably does just about. But Careless, for one, better cobble rating potential. But also at 23, he's a little closer to actually being the rider he's eventually going to become, which means he's going to actually help the team out more in an immediate sense. So we're going to go ahead and re-sign Jacques Careless. And if he's still there, maybe DeWitt gets signed next year. Another minimum contract signing, and we've got nearly 30,000 left, and all of our signings done. So with that, we've managed to retain 7 of the 11 riders, but 3 of them we wanted to be out. So 7 of the 8 that we wanted to retain, we are able to do so. I think the dossier cost on Rotosir is exactly the points that we have remaining. However, if interest is in the red, there is 0 chance. Even if you come to an agreement with a rider, they still will not sign. You cannot overcome red on the interest. Cannot be done. So there is no chance to re-sign Rotosir, even though we have nearly 30K and could afford easily a 12-15K salary that he might be asking. And I'd certainly like to hang on to that time trial of his, but we don't have a choice. Folks, I know this is going to end up being a rather short episode by the time I edit this down, but it's our signing special, and we did manage to get a race in for this one. But I'm really happy because we knew about Rotosir going into this. All 7 other riders that we wanted to retain, we've been able to retain. We've also picked up 4 quality riders, and there's still a 5th one on the radar with that young 18-year-old. Once I get a little bit more information on him in about a week and a half, scouting-wise, to determine whether he's worth signing, or maybe about a month down the road when we get the full final scouter report on him, we can make that call. But otherwise, that's going to do it for this year's sightings. Of course, by this point, and we've noted this the last 1 or 2 years, by this point, I know every rider in the pool. Every rider in the African pool. We just get the new faces. The 18-year-olds coming in every year. And that's where optimism lies. And there's a lot of new faces. The popularity boost in multiple nations has led to a deeper pool than what we've seen. There were training points assigned. There may be more quality in some of those riders. But we have weak scouts that can only scout. And there's only 2 regions there, so we can't throw more scouts at it. They're only going to be able to scout so much and gather so much information. And you can see we did find, potentially, someone. But for the most part, most of them, it's that next year. It's as they enter the pool properly as a free agent that I can then scout them properly myself and find out if they have the quality and are worth signing or not. So it does generally take a year, as well, the scouting system's a little bit ineffective. That we can't do more to properly find more talent, to identify other riders, to get after them in any meaningful sort of manner. We scout hundreds, but I can only pinpoint a handful as we go through that process, and they randomly pick up points here and there on others, but that small ability to pinpoint makes it really hard to get the most out of that scouting system. So while it's possible to get someone signed through that direct scouting, most of the time it takes that 1 more year. So it's going to be next time that we're going to get a decent look at whether the increased training ratings, whether the increased popularity ratings has netted us something that's going to help. And even then, they're still going to be very young. They're still going to be very green, and it's still going to take them 2 to 3 years to get where they need to get. So I think, in theory, we're never going to see the benefits of our growth project directly in terms of having top-notch riders. All we can really do is say, hey, we've grown the continent for future generations, and we have a high ranking compared to other teams in the world, which we've managed to hang on to so far this season with third. We're not at the top, but step up from last year, and last year was already an incredible performance from a team that's just small Continental Pro to be coming out the way we have. If we can maintain even still just a top 5 this season, it's going to be impressive stuff, but it will be really impressive if we can get a top 3. And I think that's the only realistic goal that we can aim for with this team and the remainder of this series before the release of PCM24. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.